My wife tried to block me from reaching my dying best friend. I took the neighbor's offer, raced to the hospital, and later served divorce papers. It should have been a regular Saturday. The voice on the other end was clinical, urgent. "Is this the emergency contact for David? He's been in a serious motorcycle accident. We need you at General Hospital immediately. There are critical decisions that need to be made." My blood went cold. David had been my closest friend since we were 8 years old. He was the brother I never had, the guy who stood by me through everything. When he moved to our city 3 years ago after losing both his parents, I became his anchor here. No other family, no relatives nearby, just me. "How bad is it?" I asked, already moving toward the garage. "Sir, I can't discuss details over the phone, but his condition is critical. We need his emergency contact here as soon as possible." I hung up and rushed to grab my keys from the kitchen counter where I always left them. They weren't there. I checked my jacket pockets, the coffee table, everywhere I might have absent-mindedly placed them. Nothing. "Honey, have you seen my car keys?" I called out, my voice tight with urgency. She appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, that familiar look of annoyance already forming on her face. "Why? Where are you going?" "David's been in an accident. I need to get to the hospital right now. They said it's critical." Her expression didn't change. No concern, no sympathy. Just that same irritated look she got whenever something interrupted her plans. "Oh please, David again. You just saw him last week. This isn't a social visit. He's hurt badly now. Where are my keys?" She shifted her weight, avoiding eye contact. "Maybe you should call him first to make sure this isn't some kind of joke." They called from the hospital. "He's unconscious." "Where are my damn keys?" The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. She had them. She was hiding them from me. "You hid my keys," I said, the words coming out flat and cold. "I didn't hide anything," she said, but her voice wavered. "Maybe you just misplaced them." "We had plans today," she continued, her tone becoming defensive. "Remember? We were supposed to go shopping, then dinner at that new place downtown. I've been looking forward to this all week." I stared at her in disbelief. "My best friend is dying in a hospital, and you're worried about dinner plans. You're being dramatic. You probably just scraped his knee or something. You know how these hospitals exaggerate everything to make money." The phone rang again. Same hospital number, same urgent voice. "Sir, are you on your way? His condition is deteriorating rapidly." "I'll be right there," I said, then turned to face her. "Give me my keys. Now." "I don't have your keys," she said. But she took a step back. "And even if I did, why should you drop everything for David? When was the last time he dropped everything for you? He doesn't have anyone else. His parents are dead. He has no family here. I'm literally all he has." "That's not your responsibility," she snapped. "I'm your wife. I should be your priority, not some friend who probably got himself hurt doing something stupid on that motorcycle." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger exactly, but something deeper. A kind of clarity I hadn't felt in months. "You really don't get it, do you?" "Get what?" "That you're choosing some friend over your own wife. That you're willing to abandon our plans for someone who isn't even family." "He is family," I said, my voice getting louder. "And if you can't understand that, then you don't understand me at all." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we go with the dramatics. Fine. Go play hero for David, but don't expect me to be here waiting when you get back with your tail between your legs. Where are my keys? I told you I don't have them." But her eyes darted toward her purse on the counter. I moved toward it. She quickly stepped in front of me. "Don't you dare go through my things," she said, her voice rising. "If you can't keep track of your own belongings, that's not my problem." The phone rang a third time. This time the voice was even more urgent. "Sir, we really need you here. There are forms to sign, decisions to make. He's going into surgery and we need consent from his emergency contact." My hands were shaking now, not from fear but from a rage I was barely containing. "He's going into surgery and you're playing games with me." "Nobody's playing games. Maybe this is a sign that you need to prioritize better." "Prioritize better," I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. "My friend is fighting for his life, and you think I should prioritize shopping? I think you should prioritize your marriage. Your wife, the person who's actually in your life every day, not just when it's convenient." That was it. I walked past her toward the garage, checking every possible place the keys could be. Behind tools, in drawers, anywhere she might have stashed them. She followed me, still talking. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You get one phone call and suddenly I don't matter. David this, David that. What about me? What about what I want? I stopped searching and turned to face her. What you want? You want me to let my best friend die alone because we have dinner reservations? Stop being so dramatic, he's not going to die. And even if something serious happened, what exactly are you going to do? You're not a doctor. The garage door started opening. One of our neighbors was pulling into her driveway across the street. I could see her getting out of her car, probably wondering why we were having this conversation in the garage with the door wide open. Give me the keys, I said one final time. This is not a game. This is not about our plans. This is about someone's life. She crossed her arms tighter. And I'm telling you, I don't have your keys. Maybe if you weren't always losing things, we wouldn't have this problem. The neighbor was walking toward us now, concern obvious on her face. Great. Now, our personal drama was becoming a public spectacle, but I didn't care anymore. If she wanted to make this into a scene, so be it. Everything okay over there? The neighbor called out. Just fine, my wife called back, fake smile plastered on her face. Just a little disagreement. A little disagreement. That's what she called holding me hostage while my best friend was dying. I walked out of the garage and into the driveway, my wife following behind me, still running her mouth. Where are you going? You can't just walk away from me when we're having a conversation. Conversation. I turned around, my voice carrying across the street. You call hiding my keys during a medical emergency a conversation. Several more neighbors had come outside now, drawn by the raised voices. Mrs. Patterson from next door was pretending to water her already soaked garden, and the couple from the corner house had paused their afternoon walk to watch the show. Keep your voice down, she hissed. You're embarrassing us. I'm embarrassing us. I let out a bitter laugh. You're the one who decided to turn a medical emergency into some twisted power play. It's not a power play. I just think you need to have better boundaries with David. He's always calling, always needing something. When do I get to be the priority? The neighbor who had been walking toward us was close enough now to hear everything. She was a woman in her early 30s, lived alone in the house across the street. We'd exchanged pleasantries over the years, but never had any real conversations. Excuse me, she said hesitantly. I couldn't help but overhear. Is there some kind of emergency? Before I could answer, my wife jumped in. No emergency, just my husband getting worked up over nothing. Nothing? I stared at her in disbelief. David's in surgery right now, and they need me there to sign consent forms. The neighbor's expression immediately shifted to concern. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Do you need a ride? I have my car right here. It was such a simple offer, such basic human decency that for a moment I was speechless. Here was a woman who barely knew me, offering help without hesitation while my own wife was actively sabotaging me. That's very kind of you, I started to say. Oh, wonderful. My wife interrupted, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Perfect. Another good Samaritan swooping in to save the day. The neighbor blinked, clearly taken aback by the hostility. I'm sorry. I was just trying to help. I'm sure you were, my wife said, stepping closer. I'm sure you just happened to be right there, ready to offer my husband a ride when he needs one. I was getting out of my car when I heard shouting, the neighbor said, her tone becoming defensive. I thought someone might be in trouble. Trouble? My wife laughed, but there was no humor in it. The only trouble here is my husband's inability to set proper boundaries. I could see the neighbor was getting uncomfortable, but she stood her ground. Look, I don't know what your situation is, but if someone needs medical attention and you need a ride, I'm happy to help. How generous of you, my wife said. Tell me, do you make it a habit of inserting yourself into other people's marriages? That's when something changed in the neighbor's expression. The polite concern was replaced by something sharper, more direct. She looked my wife up and down, then turned to me with a completely different energy. You know what? She said, her voice taking on a warmer, almost flirtatious tone. If you need a ride, I'd be more than happy to give you one. In fact, you can ride me. I mean, ride with me anytime you need. The pause she put in there, the way she emphasized those words, the little smile that played at the corners of her mouth, there was no mistaking the double meaning. My wife's face went white, then red, then some color I'd never seen before. Excuse me. You heard me, the neighbor said, now speaking directly to me while completely ignoring my wife. Some people know how to treat a man, right? And some people, she glanced at my wife, clearly don't. What did you just say to my husband? My wife's voice was rising to a pitch that probably had dogs cowering 3 blocks away. I said, the neighbor replied calmly, that I'd be happy to help him out. Unlike some people, I understand what it means to be there for someone when they need it. You little... My wife started forward, but I stepped between them. Enough, I said. But honestly, part of me was fascinated. In 30 seconds, this neighbor had gone from offering innocent help to basically propositioning me right in front of my wife. And the crazy part was, it was working. My wife was losing her mind. Did you hear what she just said to you? My wife was practically screaming now. She's trying to steal my husband right in front of me. Steal. The neighbor laughed. Honey, you can't steal something that's being thrown away. That did it. My wife completely lost it. How dare you? You don't know anything about our marriage. I know enough, the neighbor said, examining her nails casually. I know that when a man's best friend is dying in the hospital, a real woman would be helping him get there, not hiding his car keys like some petulant child. The accuracy of that statement hit like a slap. Even the other neighbors who were still pretending not to watch were nodding slightly. You don't know what you're talking about, my wife said, but her voice was less certain now. Don't I? The neighbor stepped closer to me. I bet you're the kind of man who actually shows up when people need you. The kind who keeps his word, who takes care of the people he loves. She was looking right at me when she said it, and I could see my wife's brain just completely short-circuiting. Stop talking to him like that, my wife shrieked. He's married to me. And Log, how's that working out for him? The neighbor asked, raising an eyebrow. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like he'd be better off with someone who actually supports him. My wife turned to me, eyes wild. Are you going to let her talk to me like this? Are you going to let her disrespect your wife? I looked at her, really looked at her. Here she was worried about disrespect while she just spent 20 minutes disrespecting me in the worst possible way. While David was fighting for his life, she was fighting for her ego. You want to talk about disrespect? I said quietly. Let's talk about hiding someone's car keys during a medical emergency. Let's talk about prioritizing dinner plans over someone's life. That's not... I didn't... She stammered. My phone rang again. The hospital again. Sir, we really need you here now. His condition is critical, and we need that consent form signed immediately. I hung up and looked at both women. My wife red-faced and furious, clutching her purse where I knew my keys were hidden, and the neighbor, calm and composed, keys already in her hand, ready to help a stranger without asking for anything in return. The choice couldn't have been clearer. The moment I stepped toward the neighbor's car, my wife completely lost control. No, absolutely not. You are not getting in that car with her. She rushed toward me, grabbing my arm. I can't believe you're even considering this. She's a complete stranger. She's offering help, I said, pulling free, which is more than I can say for my own wife. Help. My wife's voice went up another octave. She was practically throwing herself at you right in front of me. The neighbor opened her car door. The offer stands whenever you're ready. See? My wife pointed frantically. This is exactly what I was worried about. This is why I didn't want you running off today. Something like what? I asked. Someone showing basic human decency. Did you not hear what she said? You can ride me anytime. That wasn't decent. That was an invitation. I looked around at our neighbors, all openly staring now. Mrs. Patterson had given up any pretense of watering her plants. You know what? I said loud enough for everyone to hear. Let's talk about what just happened. My best friend, who has no family, is dying in a hospital. They need me there to sign papers so they can save his life, and my wife hid my car keys because she didn't want to miss dinner reservations. That's exactly what happened, I continued. And when a neighbor offered to help, you attacked her. She was flirting with my husband. Maybe she was, I said. And at least she cares more about getting me to that hospital than you do. My wife's face went through several expressions before settling on pure rage. Fine. You want your keys so bad? She dug into her purse and threw them at me hard. They hit my chest and fell to the ground. There, take your precious keys and go running to David like you always do. I picked up the keys, hands shaking with anger. Like I always do. When have I ever chosen David over you? Every time he calls, you drop everything. Name one time, I said. Name one single time I've canceled plans with you to help David. She opened her mouth, then closed it. It's not about specific times, it's about the attitude. The attitude of helping people I care about when they're in trouble. That's called being decent. I started walking toward my car. She followed. "Don't you walk away from me. We're not done." "Yes, we are," I said, getting into the driver's seat. "We're done talking about a lot of things, meditations." "What's that supposed to mean?" I started the engine and rolled down the window. "It means when I get back from the hospital, if David makes it through surgery, we're going to have a very different conversation." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm telling you that what just happened here showed me exactly who you really are, and I don't like what I see." Her expression changed from anger to panic. "You're overreacting. You're upset about David and taking it out on me." "No," I said, putting the car in reverse. "I'm seeing clearly for the first time in months." As I backed out, I could see her standing in the street looking lost. The neighbor was still by her car, and I rolled down my window as I passed. "Thank you," I said, "for offering to help." She smiled. "Anytime." "I hope your friend is okay." In my rearview mirror, I could see my wife marching toward the neighbor, ready for round 2, but I didn't stop. The drive took 15 minutes. At the hospital, the urgency was real. David was in surgery, but there were forms to sign, decisions to make. I was his emergency contact, his medical power of attorney. The surgeon came out 3 hours later, exhausted but smiling. "He's going to make it. Touch and go for a while, but he's stable. You got here just in time." Just in time. If my wife had succeeded, if that neighbor hadn't offered help, David might have died. While I was arguing about dinner reservations, I sat in the waiting room processing everything. Not just David, but my marriage. My wife's behavior wasn't just selfish, it was cruel, and she'd shown no remorse. When I drove home past midnight, the house was dark except for the living room light. I could see my wife through the window, pacing, probably rehearsing whatever speech she'd prepared. But I wasn't ready for that conversation yet. I sat in the driveway thinking about what the neighbor had said, about how some people know how to treat a man right, and some clearly don't. For the first time in our marriage, I was wondering which category my wife fell into. I walked through the front door at 12:30 a.m. to find her sitting on the couch, arms crossed, clearly having waited up for this moment. She'd changed clothes, fixed her hair, put on makeup, like she was preparing for a performance. "So," she said before I could even close the door, "how's your precious David?" Not, "Is he okay?" or "What happened?" Just that sarcastic tone that told me everything I needed to know about where this conversation was headed. "He's alive," I said, hanging my keys on the hook by the door. "No thanks to you." "Oh, here we go." She rolled her eyes. "Let me guess. I'm the villain in this story because I didn't want my husband running off to play hero for another man." "Another man?" I stared at her. "He's my best friend. He was dying." "Was he, though?" She stood up, hands on her hips. "Or was this just another one of David's dramatic episodes? Remember last year when he called you in a panic about his job and it turned out he was just having a bad day? This was a motorcycle accident. He was in surgery for 3 hours. Convenient," she said. "Very convenient timing, right when we had plans." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You think he planned to get hit by a car just to ruin your shopping trip?" "I think David has always been jealous of our relationship. I think he calls you whenever we have plans together because he can't stand seeing you happy with someone else." The delusion was breathtaking. "He doesn't even know about our plans most of the time. He called me from an ambulance unconscious, and the hospital called me as his emergency contact." "Right. His emergency contact," she said, her voice getting sharper. "Tell me, when did I become less important than David? When did your wife become second priority to some friend? When did helping someone in a medical emergency become about priorities?" I shot back. "When did basic human compassion become a betrayal of our marriage?" "Don't turn this around on me," she snapped. "This isn't about compassion. This is about boundaries. This is about you choosing him over me again. Again. When have I ever?" "Every time," she interrupted. "Every time he calls, you drop everything. Every time he needs something, suddenly I don't matter. And today, when I tried to have one conversation with you about it, you chose to humiliate me in front of the entire neighborhood." "I humiliated you." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You hid my car keys during a medical emergency, then got into a screaming match with a neighbor who was trying to help. You humiliated yourself. That neighbor was flirting with you right in front of me and you just stood there and let it happen." And there it was. The real issue. Not David's accident, not the emergency, not even the missed plans. It was jealousy. Pure toxic jealousy. "So that's what this is about," I said. You were so worried about some imaginary threat from the neighbor that you were willing to let David die to keep me away from her. Don't be ridiculous. Nobody was going to die. He almost did die. The surgeon said if I'd been even 30 minutes later, they might not have been able to save him. For just a moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Maybe guilt, maybe fear, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by that familiar stubborn defiance. Well, you made it in time, didn't you? So everything worked out fine. Everything worked out fine, I repeated slowly. My best friend almost died. My wife sabotaged me during the worst crisis of his life. And you think everything worked out fine? I didn't sabotage anything. I just wanted to have a conversation about priorities by hiding my keys. I wanted you to think about what was really important before you went running off. And what did you decide was really important? I asked. David's life or dinner at some restaurant? She was quiet for a moment, and I thought maybe finally she was going to show some remorse, some recognition of how badly she'd acted. Instead, she said, I decided that my husband should care more about my feelings than some friends' problems. The coldness in her voice, the complete lack of empathy, the way she turned someone's near-death experience into a competition for my attention. It was like seeing her clearly for the first time. You know what I decided? I said. I decided that I'm married to someone I don't recognize anymore. What's that supposed to mean? It means the woman I married would have been worried about David. She would have helped me get to the hospital faster, not slower. She would have shown compassion, not jealousy. Oh, please, she scoffed. The woman you married knew her place in your life. She knew she came first. The woman I married didn't think love was a competition. Maybe the woman you married was naive, she said. Maybe she didn't realize she'd have to fight for her husband's attention. Fight who, David? A neighbor who offered help during an emergency. What exactly are you fighting? I'm fighting for respect, she said, her voice rising again. I'm fighting to be treated like a wife instead of some convenience you keep around for when David's not available. The accusation was so far from reality that I actually laughed. You think I treat you like a convenience? You think I don't respect you? I think you take me for granted. I think you assume I'll always be here no matter how you treat me. I think you believe you can do whatever you want because I'm too good for you to find anywhere else. There it was, the real truth behind all of this. Not love, not concern, not even jealousy. Exactly. Arrogance. She genuinely believed I was lucky to have her, that I should be grateful for the privilege of being married to her, that any attention I gave to anyone else was taking something away from her that she was entitled to. Too good for me, I repeated. Is that what you think? I think you could use a reminder of what you have, she said, moving closer. I think you've forgotten how good you have it here. I looked at her standing there, so confident in her own superiority, so certain that I needed her more than she needed me, and I realized she was about to get the reminder she wasn't expecting. You're right, I said quietly. I think I do need a reminder. She smiled, thinking she'd won. I'm going to go get one right now. I walked out of the house without another word, leaving her standing in the living room with that smug smile slowly fading from her face. It was 1 a.m., but I could see a light on in the neighbor's kitchen window. I crossed the street and knocked on her door. She answered quickly like she'd been awake anyway. She'd changed into comfortable clothes but still looked alert. Hey, is everything okay? How's your friend? He's going to make it, I said. Thanks to you offering to help when no one else would. I'm glad he's okay, she said, then studied my face. You look like you could use some coffee. Come in. Her house was warm and inviting. Nothing fancy, but comfortable. Clean, organized, peaceful. The complete opposite of the chaos I just left across the street. I'm sorry about earlier, she said, pouring 2 cups of coffee. I probably shouldn't have said what I said about the riding thing. I was just so frustrated watching her treat you like that. Don't apologize, I said, accepting the coffee gratefully. You showed more concern for my friend in 5 minutes than my wife showed all day. We sat at her kitchen table and for the first time in hours, I felt like I could actually breathe. Can I ask you something? What you saw today, the way she acted, is that normal behavior for a wife? She was quiet for a moment, considering her words carefully. I've been divorced for 2 years, she said finally. My ex-husband used to do things like that. Not exactly the same, but the same energy, making everything about him, turning my emergencies into his inconveniences. How long did you put up with it? Too long, she said. I kept thinking it would get better, that he'd grow up, that he'd start caring about someone besides himself. But people like that don't change. They just get worse when they realize you'll tolerate it. We talked for over an hour. She told me about her marriage, her divorce, how hard it was to rebuild her life, but how much happier she was now. I told her about David, about our friendship, about how my wife had been getting more controlling and jealous over the past year. The thing is, I said, I don't think she's wrong about you. What do you mean? I mean, the way you looked at me today, the things you said. You weren't just offering help, were you? She smiled and looked down at her coffee. Was it that obvious? To her, it was. To me, honestly, it was flattering. When's the last time someone looked at me like I was worth fighting for instead of something to be tolerated? You deserve better than tolerance, she said, meeting my eyes. You deserve someone who's proud to be with you, who supports you when things get tough, who doesn't make you choose between her and everyone else you care about. Before I could respond, we heard shouting from across the street. Through her kitchen window, we could see my wife standing in our driveway looking around frantically. She was still in her pajamas, hair wild, clearly having just realized I'd left the house. "Where are you?" she was yelling. "Get back here right now. We're not done talking." The neighbor and I looked at each other. "She's losing it," she said quietly. My wife started walking down the street, checking behind cars, looking for me. When she spotted the light in the neighbor's kitchen window, she stopped dead in her tracks. Even from a distance, I could see her face contorting with rage. "She's coming over here," I said. "Let her come," the neighbor said calmly. "This is my house." The pounding on the door started 30 seconds later. Not knocking, pounding. "Open this door right now," my wife screamed. "I know he's in there." The neighbor walked to the door but didn't open it. "It's 2 a.m. Go home." "Don't you tell me to go home. That's my husband in there." "Your husband is a grown man who can make his own decisions about where he goes and who he talks to. Open this door or I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," the neighbor said. "Tell them you're harassing your neighbors because your husband wanted to thank someone for helping during an emergency." The pounding got louder. "You homewrecker. You think you can steal someone's husband by pretending to be helpful?" I stood up and opened the door myself. My wife was standing there in her pajamas and slippers, makeup smeared, looking completely unhinged. Behind her I could see lights coming on in houses up and down the street. "Nobody stole anything," I said calmly. "I came over to say thank you to someone who showed me kindness when my own wife wouldn't." "Kindness," she shrieked. "Is that what you call it? She was hitting on you right in front of me." "And you know what?" I said, my voice carrying across the neighborhood. "Maybe I liked it. Maybe it felt good to have someone treat me with respect for once." Her mouth fell open. "How dare you say that to me?" "How dare I?" I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "How dare you hold me hostage while my best friend was dying? How dare you turn a medical emergency into some twisted test of loyalty? How dare you stand here screaming at 2 a.m. because I had the audacity to thank someone for being decent? I'm your wife," she screamed loud enough to wake the entire block. "And what does that mean to you exactly?" I asked. "That I owe you blind obedience? That I should let people die to protect your feelings? That I should be grateful for whatever scraps of attention you decide to give me?" She was crying now, but they were angry tears, not sad ones. "You're supposed to choose me over everyone. That's what marriage means." "No," I said, and my voice was deadly quiet. "That's what obsession means. That's what control means. Marriage means supporting each other, not sabotaging each other." "I didn't sabotage anything. You hid my keys while someone was dying. I wanted to talk. You wanted to control me. And when that didn't work, you wanted to punish me. And when that didn't work, you decided to make a scene in front of the whole neighborhood." She looked around then, finally noticing all the porch lights that had come on, all the faces and windows, all the neighbors who were witnessing her complete meltdown. "This is what you want?" she asked, her voice breaking. "You want to humiliate me in front of everyone?" "I want a divorce," I said. The words hung in the air like a bomb. She stopped crying, stopped screaming, just stared at me in complete shock. "What?" "I want a divorce," I repeated louder this time. "I can't do this anymore. I won't do this anymore." "You don't mean that," she whispered. "I've never meant anything more in my life." She looked around desperately, like she was trying to find someone to help her, someone to tell me I was wrong. But all she saw were neighbors shaking their heads, people who'd just witnessed her at her absolute worst. "Please," she said, and for the first time all day her voice was small. "Please don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the keys. I'm sorry about David. I'll change. It's too late for sorry, I said. And you won't change. People like you don't change. You just find new ways to make everything about you. I turned to go back inside the neighbor's house, but she grabbed my arm. Don't you walk away from me. We can fix this. There's nothing left to fix, I said, pulling free. We're done. I went back inside and closed the door. Through the window, I could see her standing there in the driveway, completely lost, finally understanding that her actions had consequences she hadn't anticipated. 6 months later, I was living across town, finally free from the chaos that had consumed my life. The divorce had been ugly, but necessary. She tried everything: tears, threats, promises to change, even showing up at my work. But I'd held firm. David had made a full recovery and was back to riding, though more carefully now. I never liked her anyway, he'd admitted during physical therapy. She always acted like I was trying to steal you away from her. The neighbor, Lisa, had become something I hadn't expected. What started as gratitude had grown into friendship, and friendship had grown into something deeper. She was everything my ex-wife wasn't. Supportive, independent, confident without being arrogant. She enhanced my life instead of trying to control it. We'd been officially dating for 3 months, taking things slow, building something real. She lived in her own place. I lived in mine, and we spent time together because we wanted to, not because we felt obligated. I was at her house on a Sunday afternoon helping her plant flowers when the doorbell rang. Expecting someone? I asked. No, she said, wiping dirt from her hands. I'll get it. I heard voices at the front door. Lisa's calm and measured. Another voice I recognized but hoped I was wrong about. Then Lisa came back with an expression I'd never seen before. Part amused, part incredulous. You have a visitor, she said. Your ex-wife is at the front door asking to speak with you. My stomach dropped. What does she want? Says she wants to clear the air and maybe rebuild a friendship with you. She looks like she's been practicing this speech for weeks. I walked to the front door where my ex-wife was standing, dressed up like she was going to a job interview. Hair perfect, makeup done, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Hi, she said, her voice artificially bright. You look good, relaxed. What do you want? I asked. I was hoping we could talk. I know things ended badly, but I'd been thinking maybe we could be friends, for old time's sake. Friends? I repeated flatly. I know I made mistakes, she continued like she was reciting prepared lines. I've been going to therapy, working on myself. I understand now why you felt like you needed space. Before I could respond, Lisa appeared behind me in the doorway. My ex-wife's carefully composed expression faltered when she saw her. Oh, she said, her voice losing its practiced warmth. I didn't realize you two were still in touch. Still in touch? Lisa stepped forward. Honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The endearment hit my ex-wife like a physical blow. Her face went pale, then red. We're not just in touch, Lisa continued, her voice pleasant but firm. We're together. Have been for months now. My ex-wife looked back and forth between us, her composure cracking. Together, like dating, like living our best lives, Lisa said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You know, supporting each other through emergencies, treating each other with respect, all those things you apparently never figured out how to do. You can't be serious, my ex-wife said, looking at me desperately. You're with her after everything we had together. Everything we had, I asked. You mean the manipulation, the jealousy, the constant drama, the way you tried to sabotage me during the worst crisis of my best friend's life? That was a mistake. I told you I'm different now. Different how? Lisa asked, crossing her arms. Different enough to respect his relationships with other people. Different enough to not show up uninvited at his girlfriend's house trying to rebuild a friendship. The word girlfriend hit my ex-wife like another slap. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know our history. I know enough, Lisa said. I know that when a decent person sees someone in crisis, they help. They don't hide car keys and throw tantrums. I know that when you love someone, you support their friendships instead of trying to destroy them. And I know, Lisa continued, stepping closer, that when you have a good man, you treat him like he's valuable, not like he's lucky to have you. My ex-wife's face crumpled. This isn't fair. We were married for years. No, I said quietly. You built a prison and expected me to be grateful for it. Lisa helped me remember what freedom feels like. So that's it? She asked, tears starting to fall. You're really choosing her over me? I'm not choosing her over you, I said. I'm choosing happiness over misery. I'm choosing support over sabotage. I'm choosing someone who makes my life better instead of someone who makes it harder. Lisa reached over and took my hand. The gesture was simple, natural, but it spoke volumes. You should go, Lisa said, not unkindly, but firmly. He's moved on. We both have. And honestly, after what you put him through, showing up here asking to be friends takes a level of self-centeredness that's almost impressive. My ex-wife looked at our clasped hands, at Lisa's confident posture, at my relaxed expression. Maybe for the first time, she was seeing what she'd actually lost. I hope you're happy, she said bitterly, turning to leave. We are, Lisa called after her, very happy, the kind of happiness that comes from being with someone who actually deserves it. We watched her walk to her car, shoulders shaking. As she drove away, Lisa squeezed my hand. Feel bad about that? She asked. Not even a little bit, I said, pulling her closer. She had her chance to treat me right. She chose not to. You chose differently. Damn right I did, she said, kissing me softly. Now come on. Those flowers aren't going to plant themselves. She'd spent our entire marriage trying to make herself irreplaceable by making my life impossible without her. Lisa had made herself irreplaceable by making my life better with her in it. The difference was everything.